Let's continue with continuing with the vocabulary. I'm not sure if that video stopped me somewhere in the middle, so I just stopped and figured I'll continue the vocabulary here. So a minimum point. A minimum point we discussed is the lowest point. So for example, we'll just use the ones right here. This happy face parabola here has a minimum point, and I intended to switch that to a pen, make a little dot, and somehow I got this big highlighter mark. Okay, so minimum point is the lowest point on the graph. Okay, the minimum point is the lowest point, and the maximum point, so let's get the maximum is going to be, if you recall, that's going to be the highest point. So a sad face parabola has a maximum point. Okay, the maximum is the highest point. I'm having trouble with this, but okay. So the maximum is the highest point. Now we have a new word, the word vertex. I don't know if I ever mentioned the word vertex. Okay, the vertex is the turning point of the graph. Okay, so the vertex is the turning point. What would be the turning point on these graphs? Well, I have a graph. Okay, I have a graph here, this parabola in the corner. And the turning point is where it switches direction. So if I go from left to right, it starts off going down, and then it switches and it's going up. Where does it switch directions? Well, right there at that minimum point, at that lowest point, that's where it changed directions. If I look at my sad face parabola, okay, it's going up, and then it starts going down. That's what's called a turning point, because that's where it switches directions. Okay, so that minimum and that maximum, those are the turning point. So the turning point is the point where it changes, where the graph changes directions, and that would be the minimum or the maximum. Those are the vertex of the graph. Okay, and the last vocabulary term we have is parabola. Okay, parabola, and we were discussing parabolas the whole time. I already used the word as if you know it because we have discussed it. So the parabola looks like this, right? And if we want to say in words, we would say that the parabola is the, let's type it right here, parabola is the graph of a quadratic equation. Okay, it's the graph of a quadratic equation. Now, if you don't remember any of these terms, then take a minute, pause the video, and get these terms written down so that you know what I'm talking about as I continue with the lesson. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to look at a graph of a parabola. So here's a graph of a parabola, and we're going to answer the questions about some features of the graph. So using the vocabulary that we learned, we're just going to apply it to some graphs. So this is mostly review, just using a little bit of new terminology, using vertex, using parabola a lot, and we're going to just name the points for each thing. So what are the x-intercepts of this parabola? Well, the x-intercepts of the parabola are the points on the x-axis. This is my x-axis, right, going this way. And this is my y-axis. So if I'm looking for x-intercepts, I'm looking for the points on my x-axis. The points on my x-axis are this point and this point. If I count the boxes, that is -1, 0, and -3, 0. Those are the two x-intercepts. Those are the 2 points on the x-axis. The next question asks, what is the vertex? The vertex, we said, is the turning point, the minimum or the maximum. That's right here. And that is -2, -1.